Let me preface this video by saying that I, in no way, shape, or form, hate any of the queens that will be talked about here. And I know that many of you know that, and know that these videos are only made to analyze the workings of a reality competition TV show, but for the lot who cannot take the negative criticism towards their favorite queens, which in fact won't even be about them, but how the show treated them, I needed to include this here. As you see by the title of the video, today we're talking about the favoritism of Crystal Methyd, Gigi Goode, and Jackie Cox. I decided to put these three together in one video because the treatment they received hindered other queens in more or less a similar way. As I always do with my videos, I read all of your comments, the majority of which are quite helpful for future videos, and I saw that I wasn't the only one that noticed the favoritism of the three queens that are the subject here today. Alongside, of course, the favoritism of Sherry Pie. However, I have also seen people say that some other queens were favored as well. For example, Heidi in Closet. Alongside this person, another person commented that Heidi was helped a lot in the competition because she took the advice that Rue gave her. This person, I assume, forgot that Rue gives every single queen his ideas on how they could improve. And sometimes those ideas, like in Heidi's case, work out, but other times those ideas would not have boded well for the queens, like in the Snatch Game episode, when Heidi was told to do some housewife of Who the Hell Cares, and Gigi was told not to do the robot character. Also, Heidi getting the edit of doing better in a lip sync than another queen, but then that queen being saved. Yes, saved translates exactly how to favoritism of Heidi. Similarly to that, some people said that Jada was favored, not once even mentioning instances of when that might have happened, except for the finale, but we'll talk about that later. Let's begin with Crystal Methyd. Unlike some other videos of mine of the same subject matter, here we'll be talking about a broader favoritism, instead of going episode by episode and comparing the critiques. But I think that in Crystal's case, we all more or less know what this is about. It's about the mullet. You know how previously I said that Rue gives the queens advice that they can either take or ignore, and sometimes those ideas benefit them, sometimes they hinder them. In Crystal's case, it did nothing but help her out in the competition. Whereas queens like Rockham and Jackie were criticized for being repetitive, albeit in different realms of drag, Crystal was applauded for constantly showing off her mullet as more or less her only trait, which is unfortunate for her because she gave us some of the coolest looks of the season. But what is she remembered for? That short snippet of Rhythm of the Night and RuPaul's grandpa boner whenever she saw Crystal. Her mullet was the prominent feature of her performances in the Droop Challenge, then in the next episode in the Political Debate Challenge, and then again in the Stand-Up Comedy Challenge. That last challenge mentioned is the pinnacle of the tomfoolery. First, in the preparations, if you will, for the stand-up, Crystal was doing nothing really funny, and Ru was losing his mind. There's a video titled RuPaul being obsessed with Crystal Methyd's mullet for 2 minutes straight, which I really could just use as my only argument for this section of the video, based on how ridiculous it all was. RuPaul should be an unbiased host or judge, but still an animated one, not the other way around. Crystal did not know who El DeBarge was, so she did not know an old reference, which for a young queen on Drag Race means an almost immediate death. But it was okay, because it was Crystal. Another thing that a lot of people pointed out regarding the judging of the stand-up challenge, which was supposed to be written to be a little more personal to the girls, which is why, for example, Jackie did a bit about her parents and Heidi about her family. Crystal did a made-up workout instructor character that farted during his sessions, and the judges were losing their minds. To make matters worse, Rock'em Sakura, who did a similar thing with scat humor in her first episode, was berated by Michelle Visage about how that sort of a humor is just not that sophisticated for Drag Race. This came from a show that makes fisting jokes every 5 minutes, but still tries to sell itself to the younger demographic somehow. At this point, I think the show itself is confused. Without the mullet, Crystal wouldn't have even made it past the first third of the season. She would have been the Dusty Ray Bottoms of season 12. If anything, this just shows how smart Crystal is. As Emily here pointed out, when Jackie was critiqued for being repetitive, it was about something that the judges did not find funny, whereas for Crystal, it was okay. Let's move on to Gigi Goode. A lot of people were dissatisfied with the amount of wins that Gigi got this season, and I feel like a half of the stuff that I saw had certain weight based in objective reality, whereas the other half was just like people disagreeing with the judges. This part will be on one hand debunking the alleged favoritism and pointing out the actual favoritism. So firstly, in the world's worst episode, I've seen people upset over the fact that Gigi was safe even though she played dead throughout the majority of her sketch with Heidi and Jackie, but that's not on Gigi. That's on what the girls were given as guidelines to the sketch. However, minimal favoritism was shown regarding her runway. Just watch this.
Well, we loved it.
Thank you.
You know, it was buttons, and we were just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It was buttons and bows, and it was like...
Well, that's the other thing is, the category was buttons and bows, and there is not a single bow on that outfit.
Didn't need one.
Exactly.
Because you had every button in the world.
Yeah, I guess it was okay that she didn't match the runway's theme. Stop commenting that she had a tiny bow on her panties. Like, stop it. You know that that's a stupid comment. In the ball episode, when the girls were instructed to create their third look out of balls, Gigi made a garment not out of balls, but then she sewed some balls on her outfit and called it a day, and got a win. She, again, somewhat missed the guidelines given to the girls, but this time it's worse because she actually won the Maxi Challenge. Now, Madonna the Rusical. Ooh. Okay, so on one hand, Gigi's part in the Rusical was better written than Jan's, so it makes sense why she won. Oh my god, but she did a backflip. Okay, and? Each queen got some room to spice up their performance, just like how Heidi and Widow did that as well, so that's an invalid complaint. Remember in the Cher Rusical, Cracker was critiqued for being too much like Cher, and in this one, Jan really was just doing Madonna. It's not Jan as Madonna, it was just Madonna. On the runway, yeah, neither of them was that great. One came out in a Halloween costume, and it looked like she wore American football shoulder pads under her costume, whereas the other came out in a bikini and did more of a Gigi doing Michelle Visage, instead of actually replicating Michelle. You could say that the latter part is the main reason why Gigi got the win there, but really, the win could have gone to either of them, based on if you wanted more individuality or more one-to-one accuracy. The Droop Challenge was Gigi's first poor showing on the show, so it makes sense why she wasn't put in the bottom two. But also, Jan kept not listening to the critiques given to her, and Widow was very low energy, whereas Sherry Pie was the only one that actually properly parodied Goop, so it makes sense why Jan and Widow were in the bottom two. So no favoritism in this episode. However, in the political challenge, there sure as hell was favoritism. Gigi and Jackie both did something similar, as in repeating the same joke, but in Gigi's case it was even worse, because she had done the robot joke on Snatch Game already. I think the only reason why they didn't hold this too much against her, and why they didn't put her in the bottom two with Jackie, is because Jeff and Rachel did not point out to her that she was being repetitive. But that's not really an excuse, because the main judges should have criticized her in the same way that they criticized Jackie. So this is the first time that she evaded being in the bottom two. Next, in the makeover episode, much like all of the other girls, Gigi brought 2 costumes from home, and that's about all of the work that she did for this challenge. If anybody comments something like, oh, but she did her partner's makeup, stop. That's a given, like she has to do that. Gigi's costume resembled many previous bottom 2 or bottom 3 makeover challenge disasters from recent seasons, with it being black and white, one outfit being an inverted version of the other. But again, to make matters worse, Gigi's look had no silhouette at all. Rock'em Sakura, again, was criticized in her first episode that her look was eating her up. But I guess that was not the case with Gigi. I can understand why she wasn't in the bottom 2 in comparison to how Jackie did and how Heidi was screwed over by the stupid challenge, but she still was not critiqued as heavily as she should have been. These last couple of episodes aren't it when it comes to fairness. Like in the stand-up episode, where Gigi yet again did a character she had already done, but here she messed up during her performance and was reading from her cue cards that she stuck to her prop, which a stand-up challenge does not make. There were too many bottom 2 worthy performances this episode. Sherry, with her breaking the rules. Gigi, with her being repetitive and also breaking the rules of having the cue cards out during a stand-up challenge. And then Heidi and Jada, who just did not do well. It's okay not to follow the guidelines given if you're Gigi, I guess. And lastly, And I mentioned this in the previous video, the top 5 episodes judging was changed to being track record based to keep Sherry out of the bottom 2 and to give Gigi another win. So another push towards the crown. I tallied up the amount of positive and negative critiques each queen got, and based on those, Gigi should have just been high this episode, and should not have won. But hey, it's Drag Race. The favoritism and the spotlight that she received did not allow some other queens to shine as much as they would have, had that not been a thing. Now, Jackie. I kept her for last because, other than talking about the favoritism that she received, I also wanted to start a conversation on something, at least here in the comments. But first, the favoritism. Jackie, much like Sherry, is a queen that bases her style a lot around either old people or people from an older time, all hand in hand with creating characters during her performances. Like I mentioned in the Favoritism of Sherry video, the two of them are allowed to do that. But Ben de la Crème's main criticism throughout season 6 was that she was hiding behind a character. Furthermore, during her lip sync against Heidi, Jackie took on this character of, and excuse my phrasing here, but how else can I explain it? A crazy person. Throughout the entire lip sync, literally throughout its entirety, instead of performing the song, Jackie did that. And the first time it happened, the judges laughed, whereas throughout the rest of the lip sync, we did not get a single judge's reaction to Jackie being positive, and only positive reactions were shown to what Heidi was doing. There is even a shot of Rue looking away from Jackie to watch Heidi again. With that, Heidi was also declared safe first, which, in unwritten terms of the show, she beat Jackie in the lip sync. But oh, what happens then? Jackie is safe too. Now why is that? There were lip syncs on the season that deserved double Shantae much more than this one. Primarily the lip sync between Widow and Jackie, and then later the one between Jada and Heidi. Now why did this happen? Well, mostly because of Jackie's story. As somebody else pointed out, Jackie was kept in the show just because of her story and what she represented, which brings us to the topic of representation. This comment reads, I don't love the take, she stayed on because he needed representation, especially because that's what some people are saying about Jada winning, for the sake of diversity. And I just thought maybe it was fair to start a dialogue about why many Drag Race fans feel this way. No, you're very correct, Benjamin. Many fans say that Jada only won because of the current state of the United States. However, that's not fair to say at all, like on one hand. And on the other, to compare it to Jackie's case. Jackie Cox is the first contestant on Drag Race of a heritage where most of its people are Muslim. So, again, we're talking about a religion, which is a personal choice, not actual, like, heritage, ethnicity, whatever, who was there to show off the said heritage. Now, what are Jackie's most memorable moments on season 12? More or less the entirety of the political debate challenge, which revolved around her identity. Her stand-up comedy routine, which, again, revolved around her identity and the culture. Her Snatch Game performance had nothing to do with her being Persian or from a Muslim family, but her Droop commercial was rooted in the fact that she was Persian, at least with the visuals. Now let's compare that to Jada. What are her most memorable moments? A Look Over There has nothing to do with her identity, and neither does anything else that she did in that challenge, which she won. Her complete and utter dominance in her first episode, nothing to do with identity. Her stunning runway looks, again, nothing to do with her identity. Name anything memorable Jada did, and you'll see that it has nothing to do with the fact that she's an African-American queer person. And just because the show's wonder child, Gigi Goode, messed up by showing her complete inability to know not to say how privileged and apolitical she is in this day and age, does not mean that Jada won because of her race. Had Jada not been a good competitor, and had there been legitimate uproar from the fans to have a winner that's not white, like on All Stars 4, the argument would make sense. But here, it does not. Jackie's long stint on the show was there solely so the judges in the show could pat themselves on the back, because they're oh so inclusive. And let's not even begin to talk about the amount of publicity they got after the Choices 2020 episode. That's it. That's the video. I hope most of the comments will be argumentative, starting or continuing certain subjects mentioned here. And I also hope more people will start commenting in their mother tongue when sharing their opinion, because I know how hard it can be to properly express yourself when you're not fluent in the language you're speaking. So go for it. Thank you for watching.